are going to see, they're now going to see hijab, but they're going to see someone who has taken the opportunity and has defined it, right? And so she's quite literally created that space, whether we like it or not, within a subculture that that there are a lot of non-Muslims that are reading and not necessarily interacting with Muslim individuals. So, you know, I personally am kind of chill with it because of the fact that Playboy has become more feminist. Of course, it has those connotations, but the reality is that we do have more power inherent to us to be creating those opportunities for ourselves. And I think a lot of times it's easier to be a consumer rather than a creator, and to, you know, I mean, consider just how lucrative Playboy knew exactly what it was doing when it decided to reach out to hijabis. It knew exactly what it was doing because it knew that regardless of who took the bait, right, the Muslim community would pile on to that article. That the Renegades project, which is the program that they're launching to refashion what their brand is in mainstream media, that Playboy would have that opportunity to now ride on the back of Taguri as she attempts to explain why she's doing it to almost every major media outlet out there, because she literally got onto almost every major media outlet out there because of the fact that she was the first hijabi in Playboy, right? So Playboy knew exactly what it was doing. I warned to say that Taguri, who's extremely smart about the opportunities that she's been given in the past and in her branding, I mean, regardless of how you feel about her, she's extremely smart in that. She knew exactly what she was doing. So those two played a role in which a lot of us consumed and were infuriated by. But how many of us, you know, except for that one woman, of course I'm forgetting her name, the one woman who became the first the first hijabi to be featured on the front of the Running magazine. And she took it upon herself to email them and say, hey, you've never featured a Muslim woman on your cover before. What gives? And they were like, oh, cool, okay. She said she was a runner and she got that opportunity. Opportunities really aren't as difficult as we like to think they are.
What's amazing about that one too is that she even said,
sorry, I need, because we won't hear, and then also we're going to go into our break.
okay.
Yeah, should we pass that back? Just make your point quickly then, yeah.
Is that she even acknowledged that she wasn't even the greatest runner, and they still gave her that position, which was amazing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. We have, what, should we take one more?
Sure.
Okay.
So my question, I'll put it briefly. Essentially, when I hear about discussions about modest fashion in general, typically they center on markets in Europe, in the UK, and in the Middle East and South Asia. So what is your understanding of the demand for modest fashion, especially in North America? And do you think there's a ceiling for fashion entrepreneurs who are in this modest fashion space in the United States? Or are we going to see like a talent drain where people start basically relocating to, I think, more, I guess, luscious markets where there is a lot of demand for this kind of stuff?
Do you want to talk about it? I think you do quick now.
Okay. I think the only potential ceiling that might happen is if these, and I'm speaking for the Muslim market. I think you're discussing the Muslim modest fashion market, or just general?
You can use that as a proxy.
Okay. Well, when it comes to Muslim modest fashion, if you are specifically framing it only for Muslims, you're going to hit a brand issue when you're attempting to reach a larger market, considering the fact that, you know, a lot of times individuals do choose to dress modestly, even if they aren't explicitly stating it as such. So, so I think that it really depends on framing and on branding. If not, then there will likely be a slight ceiling hit within the American Muslim fashion space. But if you want to finish it off.
That's a really interesting question, and I think I would say that historically the Muslim modest fashion market has developed more in Britain, Europe and in the Middle East, but there are a number of brands here in America and in Canada, as there have been sort of for the last 10 years. I think that in America the Jewish modest fashion market and the Christian modest fashion market is more developed, for example, than in Britain. or other parts of Europe. And what's very interesting is that we're also looking at the different taste communities. So you might, many Muslim modest fashion designers might feel an affiliation to the Ummah, the transnational community of believers, but taste isn't always transnational. So somebody like Dian Pelangi from Indonesia might be really popular with, on her social media and for her products with some of the young women here. On the other hand, a British designer like Sarah Elanani, who was doing very cool sort of urban skater style casual, found it very hard to sell in Istanbul, where the style was much more princessy and femme, but was doing really well in Canada and the United States. So those intersections are very interesting, and I think what we see in the USA and in Canada is a lot of cross-faith consumption. And that's something that you've led us very beautifully to, because that's going to be our final session. So I'm going to close now by thanking Laila for her wonderful talk and taking part in the discussion, and all of you. And we're going to take a 12-minute break now.